Okay.
And you want to
Can I show you? Can I show you just a couple of pictures first, and then we'll get that out of the way?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to hold it up. Let me know how you see it. You see this all right?
Yeah.
Okay, that was the pilot of the airplane that was killed. Okay? All right. I have a picture here of myself and the radio operator. We were both survivors, and that's the two of us. Okay? And other than that, I'll show you one more picture of my wife and I. Okay, that's a long time ago. Can you see those clearly?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. And, well, now you see me. That's it. Now, what did you want to do? You want to start with questions, or how do you want to handle this?
Sure. We have about 20 kids with questions, so if that's okay with you.
Yes, certainly.
All right. Why don't we start from this side of the room, and then we'll work our way across.
You guys
So
might have to get closer
step
to
up
come
to
up
the
here
computer,
and ask
that way we can hear you.
questions.
So you-
I'm going to have to ask something. As you can see, I'm not a youngster anymore. And I find that people from your age down speak very fast. If you can slow it down just a little bit, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay?
So, I am Marshall, and I was wondering, how did you survive? Because it's a huge,
Well,
it just smashed right into the mountain. How?
okay, let me say that, first of all, everything was, for I don't know how long, the first few minutes, was very hectic. There was lots of fire, lots of noise, lots of confusion, and we all got out of the airplane at kind of different places. But, it's hard to visualize, but there's nothing but noise and fire going on, and your instinct sets in, and you try to get out the quickest way you can. How long it took us to get out, I don't know, but it must have been just milliseconds or half a minute or something like that. I went out. My instinct told me to run towards the back. Now, the pictures, what you saw of the wreckage up there is not the way the plane was settled down. Half the front end was all broken up. The back end was still standing. Now, if you've ever seen a B-17, that's a big, tall tail on it. And it was still standing. Now, that was blown up, I understand, later by the Air Force. But it was there when we got out of the airplane. It was still standing, and when we left it, it was still standing. So, as far as I know, my instinct told me to run away from the fire, towards the back end of the airplane, and somehow or other, I either went out through the back door or through a broken skin in the airplane and got out. When I got out, I found I was on a bunch of trees that had been knocked down. It was difficult. I guess I crawled over them. The other fellas went out. In the radio room, there is a hatch overhead. When I saw that they were trying to unhook it, I just hollered something about you won't be able to get it open, and I ran. They got out through there. They did get that hatch open. They had to climb up through it, climb over the top of the airplane, and went down on the opposite side that I was in. And we kind of hollered at each other, got away from the airplane. Now you have to visualize there's huge fire, lots of oxygen bottles blowing up. And we managed to get together, I'm just guessing about 100 yards from the airplane, crawling over all fallen trees and things like that. It wasn't easy. It wasn't that you could walk over or run over. We had to crawl over everything to get there. Okay. We did get together, the six of us. The snow was pretty close to up to our hips on June 13th. And we did not have, we hadn't planned on using heavy flying clothes, so we had light jackets on. I did fortunately have a pair of fleece-lined boots on at the time, why I had them on. I don't even remember. But we got together, lots of confusion, and okay, any other questions?
Yep.
Next question.
Hi, I'm David, and I would like to ask, how did you feel before the crash?
I was asleep. I had no job to perform in the airplane at that time. I was turned out to be a right waist gunner. I was originally trained as a radio operator, but when I was assigned to the plane, they had already assigned a radio operator, Max Weiner. And so I had to be placed as a right waist gunner. I had nothing to do that night. It was strictly what we call a triangular flight. They were supposed to go out to the west so far, turn back southeast, go back up to the base. Of course, they misreckoned. So I had nothing to do. I leaned against the back of the bulkhead on the back of the radio room and promptly went to sleep. My first my first feeling was that we were making a very hard landing, but that only happened just milliseconds. And I guess at that point, when I saw fire and so forth, I realized what happened. And that's when I just instinctively ran to get it.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Blake, and I was wondering, did you take anything from the crash?
No, didn't really have any time. I was wearing a jacket. I was wearing those fleece-lined boots, which I later on, when we started to walk down, threw away. And that was it. I mean, we had no time. However, I will mention that when we were asked for recommendations, we were told the officers in charge later on at a conference that we thought they should put, and they followed this up later, they should put first aid kits with, in this case, morphine and so forth, back by the radio door where we could have grabbed one and got it out because we could have helped somebody later. They did follow that. The kits originally were attached to our parachute harness. Of course, we didn't take out any parachutes, and so that was it.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Kira, and I was wondering, like, what it felt like when you hit the mountain, and if you got hurt or anything.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch.
Sorry.
Nice and loud.
I was wondering what it felt like when you hit the mountain, and if you got hurt.
Well, yes, I was slammed forward. You have to visualize like you're in a small room, which was the radio room, and I was against what you would call, I call it a bulkhead. It was the wall, one of the walls, and sleeping. And of course, I woke up instantaneously. And I was thrown forward, and ahead of me was another bulkhead lined with all kinds of radio equipment and paraphernalia. Hit the top of my head. Honestly, didn't feel it. But I did feel some blood running down my face. I had quite a cut there on the top of my head.
Okay.
My name is Evan, and I was wondering if you've ever gone back to the crash site before now?
No, I went up to the dedication ceremony when they had it at the 50th anniversary, where you saw the plaque, I understand. Did you see that plaque?
Yeah.
Yes.
With our names on it? Okay, I was there, and I wanted badly to go up to the wreckage. At that time, I would have been in my middle 70s or something like that, and they said no, they didn't think I should go up there, and so I never got to go up. My children, my daughter and son-in-law, the one said, have been up there about at least 3 times. Now, there's another thing involved. I see pictures of people going up there and so forth, and it all looks flat, very little vegetation. When we came down, myself and Jacobs were walking for help, we went through nothing but forest. Now, I don't know what happened to that. I don't know what direction we were walking, so I can't tell, but it's completely different from what I remember. Now, when you hiked up there, were there many trees?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were
Lots of
a lot
rocks.
trees.
Oh, because when we walked down, and as I say, we walked through forest all the way. I do want to point out, as long as we're talking about that, we walked for 11 hours, and we're trying to decide. It was getting dark. We just tried to decide whether we should stop and try and light a fire and rest up for the night. We had been walking, as I say, for 11 hours. We had been following a stream, and we burst out of the woods. Now, you have to visualize this. This is almost a miracle. We walked out of the woods and burst onto two fishermen who were already packing their gear to go home. 5 minutes later, we would have missed them. Now, I feel that that's really was a miracle, because I don't know what would have happened if we not stumbled onto them. Okay, next.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Eric, and I was wondering how many of people in your crew actually made it out of the plane?
6 of us. 6 of us made it out. One fellow found later had, I think he had a broken back. The other one had some leg injuries. And so 6 of us were out. We had a little trouble making a fire for ourselves because we had very few matches, and the wind was blowing, and we were sitting in snow. And so that was it. As I say, the snow was up to our hips. We were sitting on broken logs and so forth.
Right. Okay.
Hi, I'm Jory. Did the new system seem to work to you guys?
Did the what system?
The new system, the satellite system.
I'm sorry, am I understanding you? Are you asking me about a highway system?
We were under the understanding that you guys were testing out some new technology.
No, not that I'm aware of. All it was a training flight for the pilots.
Oh,
And
okay.
if you stop to realize, I didn't realize at that time, I heard later, the 2 pilots only had 10 hours instructions in a B-17 airplane, which is not a lot. And navigation in those days was completely different than it is now. It was very basic. They had compasses. We didn't have anything like a GPS or anything like that. So it was very easy to make a mistake and fly too far west. As a matter of fact, I remember the briefing before we got into the airplane to fly. One of the instructors said, when he was giving us instructions on the blackboard, he said, "Fellas, now those mountains out west of here are very hard. Don't get out there too far." But we did.
Hi, I'm Tayson. I was wondering, was there a window in the front of the plane? And if there was, how could the pilots not see the mountain?
Well, first of all, it was pitch dark. As a matter of fact, instinctively, they saved the ones of us that lived, saved our lives. Just as they were, first of all, we were supposed to be flying at 6,000 feet. We wound up in an accident at close to 11,000 feet. The bombardier who was out in the nose of the airplane, where it's all glass enclosed, saw lights higher than our wingtips, or as high as our wingtips, I meant to say. Now, he got a little bit alarmed at that. There were certain lights put on top of mountains at times, and he thought he saw one of those, and we were flying much too low. So he got in touch with the pilot and mentioned it. They said, well, maybe they better climb. We were flying at 6,000 feet. He saw we had the accident at close to 11,000 feet. They went up, and it was, as I say, it was pitch dark. I don't remember seeing the moon. And they saw these trees coming at them just almost instantly, and with reflex action pulled back on the controls and started the plane to go back up again, but it was too late. And that basically is what saved us, because it came in at an angle if you put your hand up like this, that's the way it hit. And that's what actually saved us. Those of us that were saved, that's what saved us. They were killed almost immediately because they were up front.
Okay.
Leroy, did you have any food or water on that 11
No.
hour? No
No.
food or water?
You mean, did you say food or water? Did you
Food or
say?
water after the plane crash? How long before you drank or ate?
Well, we walked, Jacobs and I walked for 11 hours, as I said. We had no food or water. And, well, he and I got down to a stream, so we were able to, I don't remember being thirsty or hungry, to tell you honestly. We were still quite excited. You know, both of us were city boys and not used to walking in woods like that. Actually started out walking in the wrong direction because that's the way the bombardier said. He was the only officer left alive, had instructed us to walk, but that kept us up on the top of the ridge. And I remember any training that I had, I don't know where I got it, I was a city boy, that you're always supposed to walk down a mountain if you're lost. So I convinced my crew member that we should turn and start down because we were walking on top of the ridge. So then from there on, we started walking down. And in a state of shock, you see things that don't exist, and which is what actually happened. We thought we saw some apartment buildings were not there. We thought we saw an automobile which was not there. Your state of mind is it's hard to imagine, but that's the kind of state of mind we were in.
Okay.
I'm Courtney, and what did you do after the 11 hours of hiking?
Well, we ran, as I say, we bumped into these two fishermen just minutes before they were ready to go. They had driven up into the mountain with an old automobile equipped to climb that type of road. And they were they hadn't caught anything for the day. It was getting dark, and they were just getting ready to go home. And in 5 more minutes, they'd have been gone. We would not have found them at all. So we burst out onto the woods, onto them, and you can imagine their feeling with 2 guys, one of them with blood still caked on his face, bumping into them and howling at them. They took us in a car, and I had to ride down Mountain Road. Well, I'm going to mention something, and you can look it up on the computer because I wanted to see if they still show them. I had to go down in a rumble seat. I don't know if anybody there knows what a rumble seat was, but it's an open seat on the back of a car with nothing over you, and the 3 fellas sat in the front, the 2 fishermen and Jacobs, my other crew member, because his ankles were swollen hugely, and so I had to sit in the back there. And all the way down, I'm looking down a mountain road with no guardrails or anything, a dirt road, and I'm thinking it would be ironic if I were killed in an automobile accident after escaping from an airplane. Okay, next.
Have you gotten back in the B-17 after the crash?
Not one. I only saw one when they're flying around the country now for people to come and see them. And one did come here to Florida that I did go to see. Yes, I got in it. It was stripped. It was kind of a disappointing trip because the inside of the plane didn't look anything like it did when it was equipped for fighting. And no, I didn't. I was never there. As a matter of fact, I was very reluctant to fly for a while, but I managed to get over that, and I'm very comfortable flying these days. I mean, it's like flying in an apartment building almost.
Okay.
Did you receive any medals or awards or honors after you got home and safe and recovered?
The only ribbons that I have, we call them ribbons, they're supposed to have a little medal with them, but anyway, is for the areas that I was in during the war, which was the South Pacific. I started out in New Guinea and went all the way up until to Okinawa, And then when the war ended while I was on Okinawa, I got into Japan for a few weeks and then came home. But for each place that you went, you got a ribbon to put on your uniform showing what area that you were in, what combat area you were in. And I had the usual sharpshooter medal for target practice and so forth.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Taylor. I was wondering, what effects did you have after the crash?
What?
What effects did you have after the crash? Maybe physically or mentally?
No, I had this cut on the top of my head, but by the time we got to any place that could handle it, it was too late to stitch it up, so it just healed up by itself. That was my first encounter with ticks. When we got to the sheriff's office there, and they let us use the shower, we took our clothes off. I noticed I had these little bugs keeping me company, and I was told that they carry mountain fever, but there's no problem. I think they were just trying to pull our leg, and we picked them off. But that's the only time I ever saw anything like that. And people were very generous. We had our clothes, of course, was all torn, and so some of the neighbors brought in some old Army uniforms they had around. We had some clothes for a while. Now, I don't know if you have any interest in the rescue party and the rescue of the rest of the crew who were still sitting up there. Is anybody interested in something like that, or what happened? It's very unique.
Yes.
Okay. When I got to help, I got on the phone and called the air base, and it took some time and some energy to get them to understand what I was trying to tell them, and I told them there were survivors up there and where we were and so forth, and they said, okay, they were going to send rescue. Now, being in the condition that we were in, my walking mate, we wanted them to start right away. Well, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, pitch dark. We had no way of telling them where we thought we were. We had absolutely no idea where the crash was after walking. So they said, well, it all had to wait till morning. Now, they did call in a paratroop medic who made his first actual practical jump over the wreckage. And he got down to the other 4 fellas and tended to their wounds and so forth. He did get hung up on a tree with his parachute and dropped down about 20 feet before he hit the ground. But that was very unique because he had never made a jump in actual circumstances to save anybody. So that was his first experience there. And then they had to go up with jeeps, and they took horses up there because the jeeps couldn't make it all the way. So they brought a couple of the fellas that couldn't walk down on. Well, as a matter of fact, I think they brought all 4 of them down on horseback until they could get a couple of them in a jeep to come down. Okay.
Okay. Next question.
Hi, I'm Mark, and I have a question. How long till you got to see your wife again?
That's an interesting question. When I called into the base to and tell them about the crash and to get help to us and so forth and so on, I told the operator to please hold the phone open for me because I had to get in touch with my wife because she had expected me home. And we were living in a well, that's not it. Okay. Oh, here. We were living in cabins. Can you see this?
Can you hold it up a little bit higher?
Higher, yeah. Okay.
There you go.
There are little cabins behind us, and that's what we were living in. And didn't have any telephone or anything, but there was a house there, the landlord, and I didn't remember their name, and I had no idea about their phone number, but I told the operator, I said, operator, this is an emergency. I must get a hold of a person there. And the only thing I can tell you is it's in a cabin area about a mile outside of Rapid City, and they have a very Polish-sounding name, and she got it for me. And of course, my wife almost fainted when she heard me, but I got a hold of her. Now, I didn't get to see her. Two of the officers that were friends with the pilots and our other officer, our bombardier officer, got in a car and drove up to Fort Collins to see us. And no, I'm sorry, I take it back. We were taken to Denver, Colorado, the hospital, and they drove up to Denver with my wife and one of the other wives. And that's the first time I saw her, which was about 2 days later.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Sydney. How old are you then, and what were the names of the survivors you know?
How old was I? Approximately 22 or 23. The names of all the survivors? Let's see, there was Max Wiener, there was Jacobs, there was Phillips, Place. The first names are kind of escaping me. I didn't mention something which is very, I don't know, in a way depressing. One of the crew who was killed was in the tail when we crashed. And the tail section was like a little compartment which was split away from the airplane. And he was in it. He was jammed in it and in bad physical condition. When we got to where we were, the 6 of us got to where we joined the 5 of us, when we got together and joined each other, we were missing him, and of course the others we assumed were dead. And all of a sudden we heard some whistling and screaming, and we thought, well, somebody has found us. It was pretty hard for all of us city boys to imagine that a fire could be so high and so huge that nobody would see it and come out. And then I suppose they've seen a lot of fires there from lightning and so forth. But anyway, we heard this and we thought somebody was coming to find us. And it kept up. So we went back to the airplane after we determined where it was coming from. And this boy was jammed in that little compartment which had come away from the airplane and was laying among all the torn up trees and so forth, and was in very bad shape. And we had, Jacobs and I had a lot of difficulty to extricate him from that little compartment that he was caught in, and he was very physically damaged. And we could not get him back to where the rest of us were sitting because all the trees were jumbled off together and we just couldn't carry anybody or anything over all of that. And so we built a fire there and we wrapped him in a parachute which had come out of the airplane one time and covered him up. And then we kept one of the fellows who stayed back after Jacobs and I walked away to get help. One of the fellows kept going back there to keep the fire going and see what he could do, but there wasn't anything he could do, and that fellow died during the night. And that was that.
Hi, it's Jan again. I was wondering, we were up there in October and it was very cold. What was the month that you were there?
June, and as I say, the snow was up to our hips.
Oh my gosh. And then I guess, what are the happier moments from your life after the crash?
Well, the happier moments, of course, is when my wife and I got back together, and we got down to the hospital, and everybody was going to continue to survive, and that was pretty much it. Just about all of us were there. Some couldn't fly anymore, but Max Wiener and I and 2 of the others refused to fly anymore, which was our option. And so I was assigned to a small job up in Newell, South Dakota, for a while as a radar operator over the practice bomb range, and then I was shipped overseas. Flying for the first time for me was after the accident, was in a military airplane. I was being transported from New Guinea up to the Philippines, and I was put in a B-26 bomber. I don't know, well, that's a 2-engine bomber, noisy, and I didn't have any choice. They just said, you get on that airplane and you go. And it was in the tropics. It was very warm, and most of the fellows were sitting around without shirts. We were not flying high over the ocean, probably 3,000 to 4,000 feet, so it wasn't a cold day. And I started to shake like I was freezing. And it dawned on me that I was afraid of flying, but it turned out all right. So after that, I've done a lot of flying in commercial. I mean, you know, as a passenger. It took a little bit of encouragement from my wife, but I made it. I've flown quite a bit in commercial planes after that. Next one, is there one?
And Leroy, how old are you now, and where are you living now?
Now I am 90 and a half years old. I'm living in a independent living facility with lots of old people. I have a very nice roommate, as a matter of fact, Charlotte. Charlotte, she can't hear me. I thought I'd introduce her. We've been living together. We're very close. And my wife passed away about 8 years ago, and got very lonesome. But anyway, we're living here. This is a place where we get our meals, so the women don't have to cook, and lots of old people. I myself feel very fortunate at my age. I'm still driving, and I must be doing all right, because when my daughters visited here, and they're going to visit again soon, and I drove, I guess I passed my test because they didn't say anything about it. So I'm still driving very carefully and getting around. That's about it. And I think I am a very lucky man. I also have a wonderful family. Any more? Anything else I can shed some light on?
Well, I think we have one more question.
Okay.
But right now, I'd just like to take the opportunity to thank you, and definitely thank you for sharing, you know, a part of your life that was very difficult.
Well, I'm glad that somebody is interested, and I feel very flattered that you asked me.
What part of Florida are you living in?
I'm in Boynton Beach, which is, I don't know if you are familiar with any of the cities. We're just north of Delray Beach, Boca Raton, just south of West Palm Beach. So we're in that little, what's called South Florida. Well, it really isn't south. It's mid-South Florida. Right below, if you look at a map, we're right below for the benefit of the students, the largest inland lake in the United States, including, there's only one inland lake in the Great Lakes, and it's not completely in the United States. But anyway, this one is the largest, Okeechobee. So if you look at a map of Florida, you'll see a big eye there, and that's Lake Okeechobee.
Okay.
I just want to make a comment here.
Sure.
About your students. They have opportunities now that are absolutely fantastic. I mean, I don't know if it's good or bad, but this computer has changed life so that I can't even keep up with it. It's just, they have so many opportunities for information. It's wonderful. Anyway, this has been a great experience, and if you are making, you say you are making tapes of this, or what? Do you mind making a copy for me and send it to me? I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, if it all works out, we will. We're making sure it was recording.
Okay, if you can make a recording for me, a copy of the recording, I would sure appreciate it. And if there are no more questions, I guess that pretty much takes care of it.
Well, I will talk to you soon, but I'd
Oh.
like the children to be able to say thank you. So, you guys.
Well, the problem, part of the problem, that there are so many side issues that popped up about this accident that it would take hours to explain it. So I know you don't have that, and you're not interested in some of them. But anyway, good luck to all of you, and study hard. And again, good luck. I hope you're as lucky in your lifetime as I have been. I hope that a very, very big percentage of you are going to college. Here, let me introduce this young lady. Her name is Charlotte Wilson.
Hi.
And we make a wonderful companionship.
Hello.
Hi,
It's a
Charlotte.
great time. And everything he tells you, I've heard 40 times.
And more. Okay.
Well, thank you very much. I will be talking to you soon. I have a class to get to now.
Okay. Thank you
thanks
for this
again.
opportunity.
Hopefully next time you'll be able to see us. We'll try to fix that out.
Yeah, I would like to get on Skype with whoever wants to, or just to be able to see you. I'd like to. It's pretty hard for me to recognize you there, but I don't know if you walked in, if I would even recognize you now, because the picture's kind of tiny.
Well, we'll send some pictures.
All right, good luck to everybody.
Thank you.
Jan, keep in touch.
I will. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.